Welcome to the most must-listen podcast on wrestling and movies on the whole of the internet. Welcome to
Two Fat Gingers Have a Conversation. Was that my bit?
That was your
I got it. I got in the right bit. That's good.
You did?
Totally unrehearsed. No, completely unrehersed.
I've been saying that in front of a mirror for a week.
What? Completely unrehearsed? Why would you say that? There's the first moment for the thingy.
Tumbleweed.
This is going to be a fantastic podcast.
It's okay. You're in luck. I've done a bit of prep this week for once.
Good, because my brain is broken. I have not worked for 3 weeks now, I think, pretty much, and my brain has melted, is dribbled out my nose, back into my mouth, and then I shat it out.
How lovely. There's an image. Thanks for listening. Okay, well, I have this week got some questions.
For me, or for the listener?
They're for to prompt the conversation, basically. The questions I've done relate to the graps, as you might think, and also to do with what we've seen this week. So, start with the big news. So, I guess this is another thing I thought we kind of assume that whoever is listening to us knows what we're talking about. So, I'm going to preface this one a little bit, right? So, in case the listener doesn't know, this week on Smackdown, Charlotte Flair unexpectedly won the women's title. Charlotte Flair is part of a triple threat match at WrestleMania. It is her versus Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey for the WWE Raw Women's Championship. So, my question is this. Also, she beat a phenomenal wrestler by the name of Asuka, and we can talk about Asuka also, because I think that's relevant to the conversation. But yes, my question is this. What do you think is now going to happen with the title match? Because, in theory, if Charlotte wins it, but only, as has been announced so far, only if Charlotte wins it, she has both titles. The match isn't for the SmackDown Women's title, as far as we've been told so far. So, will they make it for both titles and unify them? Is it their intention to do a 4 horsewoman thing so that Becky will win, as I think is expected? Becky holds the Raw Women's Championship. Charlotte holds the SmackDown one, and Bayley and Sasha Banks, the other 2 horsewomen, who are the women's tag team champions at the moment, assuming they retain, you've got a nice visual at the end of them with all 4 of them holding gold. Is it that, or do you think it's something else?
Right. Let me preface this by saying it's not just the listener that sometimes doesn't understand what we're talking about. On this one, I think your introduction got us 50% of the way there. So you didn't miss. I think you may have taken a step beyond, and maybe I'm just saying that because I didn't think about it. But I think the logic head in me, which is always dangerous when you make decisions, because decisions don't seem to be driven by logic sometimes. But the logic head in me says Becky Lynch picks up the Raw champion. Well, initially my logic said, before the change this week, my logic said Becky Lynch picks up the Raw title by pinning Charlotte, allowing Ronda Rousey to claim she was undefeated. She goes away and takes her break, and if she ever wants to come back, that's her return storyline. The way this seems to be going, they've nixed that. What the rumor that's come out is that there's going to perhaps be if Charlotte pins Rousey, she has both titles. If Becky pins Charlotte, she gets a SmackDown title. If she pins Rousey, she gets a Raw title. And obviously, if Rousey, the logic would then go, if Rousey pins Charlotte, and if she pins Becky, then she retains and Charlotte retains. Which is, wrapping your head around it, that's the logic.
It's very complicated.
It does seem a bit convoluted, and apparently the reason they've done this change is because they didn't want to have a match that nobody really thought nobody would really care about in Mania, because it's already looking like it's going to be a 14.5-hour show. So they've done this to eliminate a match. I think they probably will go with the whichever champion gets pinned loses their belt type thing. And I think it will be Becky pinning Ronda or making her tap out, because it looks like Ronda's moving on, at least for the near future, to do family things or movies or whatever else. She's come in, she's done her stint. She has helped raise the profile of women's wrestling. And the profile of WWE. It was a big name, male or female, doesn't really matter. She was a big catch. Obviously, the nigger, so he's just retired from MMA again for the 14th time. So the rumor is he might be the next one. But you know, she's done her job in the last year. Let's just say I would have liked to have seen her stick around longer, but you know, she's done her job. She's done well. She's done better than I think anyone could have expected. So I think Becky picks up the Raw title. She has the Raw. Charlotte has the I think that gives us as two very strong champions with strong challengers coming through as well. So they've done a bit to build up Mandy Rose. Obviously on SmackDown you've got Asuka as well, and then on Raw they've been building up Riot Squad a little bit. They've obviously got some. They've obviously got Sasha and Bayley. I know they're tag champs at the moment, but they are the Raw brand, so they're two strong candidates on. And you've got, you know, obviously anyone coming up from NXT post-Mania, which is usually something that happens. So I think that's the direction they're going in. Where I'm not sure they'll go is the 4 horsemen, purely because, although it's a nice image, the Raw after Mania, all 4 champions in the ring, 4 horsewomen, it would be one of those lift-up defining moments for women's wrestling again, that they've had a few times. It would be an amazing visual, as you said, but that essentially means turning Flair face again after just turning her heel.
Yes.
I don't think they could do that with her heel, and I don't think they could do that and then throw back on SmackDown and be heel. So that's why I'm not sure they'll take that step. Although, you know, now thinking about it, if I was a writer or in charge of creative, that isn't exactly what I would be doing, and I'd say, fuck it, we're turning Flair face again, we're going to turn Asuka heel. You know, her Mania moment was stolen from her, whatever, it doesn't really matter, and go down that would be actually a stroke of creative genius. Now, if you didn't read that 4 horsemen thing off the internet rumor boards, like where I get all my information, Vince McMahon needs to listen to this. Phone up Triple H and say, look, Triple H, my friend Alistair has a good friend, Chris, Ginger Chris. Speak to Alistair and get Ginger Chris on board, because, you know, I'm obviously good friends with these guys. So, yeah, I think it would be amazing. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think 50% of the way there, the 4 horsewomen will hold the titles, but I don't think they're going to go the step of putting that on a pedestal on Raw the night after or even in the near future. I don't think they're that. Let's just say everyone who moans about wrestling, all the wrestling fans who moan about wrestling, not the non-wrestling fans who moan about wrestling, because they just don't get why half-naked people are fun. All the wrestling fans that complain about Raw and SmackDown at the moment, it would give them a moment that they would just ruin their lives because they couldn't complain about that. They find other things, but they couldn't complain about that. I mean, if WWE did that and had the creative process to pull that off, that could start taking the company back in a more positive direction than it's been in recently, which it needs to do with the competition that's going to come from AEW. I hate it being AEW. The W needs to be in the middle, man. AEW. I suppose you had ECW. Sorry, sidebar. Never mind.
WCW as well.
Shut the fuck.
Just yeah. A couple of points then. On the 4 horsewomen thing.
Well, hold on a second. Hold on 1 second. Are we doing counterpoint here? Because I need to get a pad of paper.
No. Just a couple of things. Just a couple of things to feed into why I asked the question. The 4 horsewomen thing could work as a visual, it's a fantastic visual, there's no question. But it lacks the significance if Rousey is going to be gone for a year or more, because the Four Horsewomen thing should be a prelude to the Four Horsewomen of MMA, who are there now. Like, the 4 versus 4 has been rumored for a long time, and it just seems pulling that trigger now, unless they do it like
slow
what was the
burn.
thing? No, the click thing that they did, where rumor was that Triple H was the only one got punished. When
the curtain call.
Yeah, curtain call. That's the one. Yeah, unless they pull it off like that, as in like Rousey's been they've done all this talk. There's been a lot of kayfabe destroying stuff going on just now. So they may do it for the visual at the end. It's just like drop all the stuff and yay women,
Well, actually, you've just stumbled onto something completely by mistake.
Stumbled. I planned this.
Well, yeah, okay, but you've started. You're advancing the storyline as a stumble. And again, if we get any listeners to this, they're going to love us. They're going to think that we should be creative WWE, because it's easy when you only have to do one storyline for a handful of people. I think what they, if they decide to go in that direction, even if Rousey leaves for a short while, I mean, the gone, and she might come back. So you get the opportunity then to do what they used to do, which was slow burn stories that would, build and build and build rather than rush. And if they went back in that direction, if you think about it, Ronda leaves, Rousey leaves, have a family or whatever it is that she wants to do, and that's completely her business. Go off and have fun, live your life, whatever. I said whatever at the end, sounded really cynical, but I didn't mean it. I was being quite sincere. Damn it. I don't know how to be sincere. No, but she goes, and then you've got the other MMA horsewomen who slowly push up from NXT, yeah, and
she comes back
to a certain extent. There's continued domination by the four horsewomen of the WWE, and it's a give. So Rousey comes back to form the four horsewomen of the MMA versus four horsewomen of WWE right in time for WrestleMania 36. Mm-hmm. Now, that would be a slow burn storyline that if they didn't fuck it up, if they got behind it and actually put the effort and thought, because, these guys are pretty smart. They know their own business. They don't get everything right, but they do know their business. Let's give them some credit. If they did something like that, could you imagine the route off WrestleMania 36 main event? Four horsewomen of WWE versus the four horsewomen of MMA with all the titles on the line, and whichever group wins takes all the titles. Something like that. I don't know. Maybe not all the titles, but can you imagine that story over a year?
No.
Would you like to imagine that story over a year?
I don't think they could do that over a year, because I don't think they do storytelling that long anymore. I think it's possible. I think they could be prepared to do it, but I don't think they'll have a cohesive story for running for a year. I don't think they do that anymore.
No, but they could. And it would be...
Yeah, they could.
It would be totes amazeballs.
Mm-hmm. I would not disagree. However, the other thing, unifying the titles.
Nah, can't see.
I would be inclined to agree with you, but it would certainly enhance the visual at the end of the match.
They did the unified titles thing with Smackdown moving to Fox. All of a sudden, you're beginning to cripple your, not flagship show, but your big story show that's coming. You're beginning to cripple that by having... But
I'm not sure you are.
Across. I think you are. I think you're better to have them both. I think you're better to have them both. If you're going to keep the if you're going generally, and the only one that's not is the women's title, obviously. Mm-hmm. If you're going to keep the two titles separate, you got to do it for all. Otherwise, again, you're sending a message, I suppose, that says we have a weak women's roster now, where we can't really maintain these two titles. And
do you think for a minute the Fox aren't going to want both Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair on SmackDown?
I don't think they'll be thinking about it. I think they'll be thinking about.
They will. I think they've got their talent picked out already. I think they've got. We're going to want this. We've paid you all this money. They're going to want the absolute best, and the only way I think that WWE can prevent Raw from becoming from disappearing altogether, essentially, is by having champions that can go back and forth.
Well, I mean, is the Fox deal bigger than the USA deal?
The Fox deal is bigger than anything. The Fox deal is making them more money than the WWE network. The Fox deal is making them more than their pay-per-views.
So it's worth $200
billion, isn't it?
Yeah, 200 million a year. 200 million a year with Fox.
Mm-hmm. So it was how it was reported anyway. What I was reading when the thing was reported first. This made TV the biggest game that they are in again.
Yeah. So the Fox deal's reported at 200 million a year, 205 million a year. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they signed a deal to keep Raw in the USA network, which is worth 265 million a year.
That's not what I had. Well, I don't know the numbers, but it's not what I'd heard. What I'd heard was that the Fox deal is a lot bigger, a lot more significant for them. Maybe it's the length of years. I don't know.
I think it's no 5-year pact for Raw and USA as well. I think what it is it's the bump from what SmackDown was over what they were getting. I mean, it pushes the amount that they were getting for it closer to Raw than it was, I think. I think that's probably what the big deal was about.
Well, regardless of this fact, if we accept the premise that the Fox deal is important, we know that Fox is going to. I mean, all the I mean, it's clearly massively significant. It's been talked about in all the sheets and all the things. It's a massively significant thing. Fox are going to want the best of the talent.
They're going to want, but again,
who can shift backwards and forwards will help.
Yeah, I think they will want big deals. I think they want big stars, but I don't think they can demand all the best stars on SmackDown. And again, you then have to merge the titles for everything. Well, they can try, but I'm sure this was probably discussed at the time. But as I say, I think what it's saying is more or less between the two deals, it's added 150 million a year onto WWE's revenue. And I'm guessing that a big chunk of that's going to be coming from the massive uplift from SmackDown. So there's it brings to the Raw's always been the flagship show. It brings it up closer to the flagship show. So they're going to have to do something with two flagship shows, and the roster's too big to merge them.
Well, this was part of the reason that the terms that what is being said, the wording that's being used is that SmackDown will be the flagship show after this, which is why I'm confused about the numbers. However, the numbers. It's not about the numbers. It's about what they might do and why. As I say, I don't know either way. I think I'm just merely discussing the possibility.
The other thing is, I'm not. It's Friday night at Fox. I mean, it's a better night than a Tuesday night, but Monday Night Raw has been going for on a Monday night. It's what the fans know. SmackDown's moved Thursdays. I think they did Fridays at one point.
There were Fridays before at one point.
Yeah. So as I say, I think they're gonna. It's obviously going to be a big thing for them, but I don't think it's going to be. I mean, the SmackDown. I'm just reading here that the SmackDown revenue before was less than 100 million, so it's doubled their revenue on that. So I mean it's a huge thing for them. It's a huge amount of money. They're going to have to make it great, but I don't think they're going to sacrifice Raw for that, because it's over that 5 years it's bringing in 300 million more, and I'm sure Fox, it's all business. I'm sure they've sorted
business, as the Lego cat says. Business. Well, the other point is, we've seen titles be unified before.
Yes.
They tend to get unified for a bit, and then there'll be some reason, and they'll split them off and things like that. So for all that they would do, the WWE would probably have you believe that there's this just great storied history between the titles. They're not above doing this for a bit of PR, for a bit of pop and wow, right?
Indeed.
Are they ever going to have a bigger moment to do it than this?
Well, I mean, they've done it in the past where they've had the champion that's been attached to both brands, but both brands separately. And that, I think, from a story perspective, that's going to create massively disjointed stories because, who's chasing what and who's first in line. First, you almost have a playoff system for every title fight or something like that. You're going to get a disjointed storyline, and you're going to get the champion turn up on a Monday night because he's been, his next title match is against somebody on a Smackdown, or you bring the person from to keep the story, and then you're just merging the two rosters. So I think if they, from my humble opinion, if they decide to go one women's champion, one men's champion, one tag team championship, that sort of thing.
I'm not talking about doing it.
Got to merge.
Only the women's championship.
Well, then it would make no sense. It would make no sense for me to just do it with the women's title.
But there is a reason they might do it with the women's title, and that is simply because they don't have the depth of roster on the women's.
They don't, but they can do. They can get rid of some of they can get rid of some of the fluff guys that are hanging about that really are taking up time.
Guys was not necessarily a good word to use in that particular context. Yes, get rid of the fluff guys to make room for women. That's obviously what you meant there.
Yeah, get rid of the fluffers for the. No, hold on.
No,
I just can't. I can't see them doing it with the women's title and not doing it with other titles because, as you say, there is a lack of depth. But at the same time, you've got some good stars on SmackDown, but arguably the Raw stars are still bigger. Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles is up there. If AJ Styles was on Raw, he'd be.
None of these are women.
No, but what I'm saying,
Styles has got long hair, but it doesn't make it on.
No, what I'm meaning is I can't imagine just doing it with the women's title because that, for me, that just sends a strange message. And plus, the only way they can do that is then Charlotte Flair or Ronda Rousey picking up the belts. Really.
Why could they not do that with Becky?
But they'd have to do some sort of gauntlet thing. Well, not maybe even a gauntlet, but like an elimination thing where the last person standing has the titles, because otherwise you get the whole semantics about pin the Raw champion to take the SmackDown belt as well.
Yeah, but we're still what, 10 days away? There's still like a week of programming to happen. All they need to do is say that the winner walks out with all the championships. That would be the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, I think
it doesn't seem likely. I don't disagree with you. I'm arguing for the sake of arguing really here. I don't think it seems particularly likely, but I do like the visual. I like the visual at the end of WrestleMania is Becky on the turnbuckle, stand up the turnbuckle with both belts in her hand. I like the visual, like that, D-Bry when we were there.
Yeah,
and that's when
yeah, that was, and that was when it was, two belts rather than two titles.
Yeah,
there was one title with two belts, really. But as I say, I honestly can't see it happening, and I think it would be a mistake to do that rather than sort of a bit better and give
the only thing that feels a little wrong is that if the SmackDown title is not held up at the end of that pay-per-view by somebody, then they've missed a trick. If the big deal of this show, and it really is the big deal of this show, is that it's being headlined by a women's match. That is the main event. They don't normally call anything in WrestleMania the main event, or they'll call like 7 things the main event. But they have been for the last 2 weeks at least, or since they announced it on whenever it was, Sunday or Monday. The women's title match is the main event. If the SmackDown title is essentially not a part of that. It seems like, I mean, I appreciate that they're going for that they've got a huge card and an awful lot of matches on it, but there are other things that get bumped off there. If the women's roster is clearly important to them, it just seems if the SmackDown, if one of the two titles there isn't being held up at the end, it seems like, well,
but they can still do that. So if they put both titles on the line and whoever pins, someone can either become a double champion or someone becomes a single champion. Yeah. And the only person that can become the single champion is Becky. Becky gets the Raw title. Charlotte's got the SmackDown title.
But at the end of the
Charlotte
match, why would
she's never been beaten? And
but at the end of the match, where's your visual? If Charlotte has just been beaten, where's your visual of her standing up holding her title? Unless they do the whatever, the four horsewomen thing or the click thing, or all the women come out and whatever. Unless they do that, I don't see the visual.
I just don't. I can't see them. I can't see them not pulling the trigger on Becky, and I can't see them merging the titles.
No, I think I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I did say in the question unifying the titles, and I don't. That seems extremely unlikely. But I do see them. I do see a possibility of them having a double champion.
Double champion, I could see, but that means Charlotte or Beck or Ronda. I can't see them putting something in place.
Or Charlotte volunteers to. I mean, the whole thing this week, which seemed a bit weird to me, was like her trying to justify her position in the match.
Yeah,
that it wouldn't seem entirely away from the realms of possibility that the next step in that conversation is for her to put her title up as well.
Well, putting her title up again as well, but I guess, again, going from a slightly logic perspective, it'd be disingenuous for Charlotte to lose her title if Ronda Rousey's pinned, and for both of them to lose their title. It would just seem so convoluted to do it that way.
I think it's less convoluted if you just say that the match is now for the Raw and SmackDown women's titles.
And whoever walks out, walks out. I can't see that happening either. I just say I think they'll keep them separate. And it's not so much the women's title moment; it's the women's wrestlers moment, and it's the Becky's moment. I think.
Yes, I see Becky's moment as well, but I think if they didn't take it off Becky, if they didn't take it off Asuka to actually use it, they shouldn't have taken it off Asuka.
I think they took it off Asuka because, let's face it, nobody really was engaged in any storyline. Nobody was ready for Asuka. Yeah, nobody was engaged in any storyline that was there. That would have made the women's title match a filler match because they haven't prepped for it. At least the title's in the picture and being defended, and by not losing, Charlotte, by not being the one pinned, Charlotte doesn't lose, inverted commas, type thing. But if it was with Asuka versus Mandy Rose, I think the crowd, whatever matches they put around it, I think the crowd might just shout all over it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It would have been the toilet match for sure.
Yes, so they pulled the trigger and they're more or less saying the women are headlining, the three biggest female stars in wrestling are headlining. There's two titles there, so both titles are represented. But as I said, don't
worry your pretty little heads up at the blue one.
Pretty much.
I don't disagree. Your logic seems pretty sound, but
they can put the blue one. They can put the blue one on the line as well.
I don't think they will.
Whoever pins anyone, whoever pins whom, picks up that title, or if it's Ronda or Charlotte, they pick up both titles. But I think they'll go with the both titles on the line. Becky wins.
Yeah,
I think by beating Rowdy.
What you said first there, I think, is as unlikely as anything else we've discussed, because to have the possibility, we've got three people in that match. The one that we know is going to win is the only one that doesn't have the opportunity to become a double champion. Seems ridiculous.
Yeah, remember, they can still throw a curveball.
Of course. Absolutely.
We never saw...
totally called it.
We never saw The Undertaker losing to Brock Lesnar when we were there at WrestleMania 30.
We did. We literally saw that.
No, but we didn't call it beforehand.
No, I don't think anybody called that.
Do you have like one of those buttons that you can hit and it has this huge siren that goes off and goes, dick alert, dick alert. One of us is being a dick.
What we do is we call that the intro music.
Oh, right, yeah, that's true.
See, I did there.
Yeah, I see. Right, so that was that's like 30 minutes on the first question.
That was good. that was a good question. All right.
Your second question, you got to build from here.
Second question: are we done with the Kofi story, or are they going to do something next week? Mental.
I think we're done with it. I think next week's going to be. So usually the week between WrestleMania, they don't make changes. They have the build, the face-offs, the leaving the face down so that they can get their revenge story if they're going to win type thing. And I think that's what they're going to do next week. I don't think there's going to be any more twists in it. I thought it was really interesting that they went down the racial angle with it.
Do you think that they did?
Well, Big E did, and the postings on social media, people like us will never succeed. That was obviously that was an obvious storyline, I think, and I think it's obviously been something that's been out there in the air for quite a while about how few ethnic champions the WWE's had, apart from the opportunity to sell in a country like Jinder Mahal, India type thing. And the Great Khali and things like that, but especially African American. How few African American champions there have been? The Rock probably, he's an African American champion coming from African American heritage on his father's side. But other than that, you Samoan Mark Henry. No? Yeah, Samoan African American. His dad is African American. But Mark Henry carried the title for a while, obviously. But you look at it and you think this, five time. But there's not been a huge amount. There's not been a huge success for African American heavyweight champions.
It was mentioned. I was aware of the thing. I mean, it was mentioned, and a lot of people in the talking up, because Vince McMahon himself was the one that coined the "people like you" phrase a few weeks back, which echoed Triple H saying the same to Booker T years ago, and that's heavily thought as being a race angle.
Yeah, and hey, art reflects life. Life doesn't reflect art. So especially in America, and in fact even here, obviously horrifically in places like New Zealand as well, you see a far more people who are of that thinking, shall we say, people who have racist opinions or voices are becoming far more empowered in society with all the different things that are going on. And I think that being reflected in the wrestling, I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing. I think the only challenge they've got is WWE has not historically handled these things with much sensitivity or subtlety.
No.
So I don't mind it being there. I think it's, as I say, art reflects life. But they got to be really careful with where.
Yeah, for sure. And if that's genuinely been their intent here, then they do seem to have handled that with way more tact than I've seen them handling anything before.
They didn't handle necrophilia very well.
No, they handled it. Very few people do.
That's true.
Something that was pointed out in one of the reviews I was watching a couple of days ago was the look on Vince McMahon's face as he was getting into his limo. I don't know if you will have seen the whole lot of SmackDown, because you tend to watch the WWE clips, right?
Yeah, which is 86%. Really.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I would imagine this was part of them, but I don't know. So the bit immediately after the match, the random announcer, that I think it was the blonde one that I don't think we've ever seen before, catches Vince McMahon as he's going in his limo. What do you think of that? Blah, 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 blah. And he says something about the fact he confirms that Kofi's going to WrestleMania, but that's all he confirms. He doesn't say anything more than that. Kofi's going to WrestleMania. And then he says something along the lines of, we'll see if a B-plus player can beat Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
And he has called all three members of the New Day B-plus players as of SmackDown there. So that's my only wondering is there something there, or am I reading too much into it, or was
I think
in
you
fact
might. I
the
think
reviewer reading too much into it?
I think the reviewer might have been reading too much into it. I think there's they've got a chance this year to do a lot of feel good moments. Becky Lynch feel good moment, yeah. Kofi Kingston feel good moment. Seth Rollins over the Beast. Triple H on top of Batista.
For the record, the Beast is Brock Lesnar's nickname. This is not nearly as weird as it might have sounded.
It's a religious podcast. What can I say? No, but they've got the chance to do a few, and I'm not necessarily saying they will with Kofi.
Does that mean Seth Rollins has the Beast's number? Sorry.
And on behalf of myself and my associate, I would like to apologise for everybody who had to listen to that joke. Of course, it would have been better if I made it because it's expected from me.
My head is actually hanging down in shame just now.
As it should. But yeah, I think let's move on. I think it's going to be Kofi. I don't think they're going to pull a swerve on that one. They may do it after Mania because usually, as I say, they like to close off one storyline and start another one on the Raw or SmackDown after. I can see them closing off the storyline. We have had heel turns and things like that. Maybe New Day cost Kofi because they're entertaining as a trio, but each of them needs to probably go and do something different now, or one or all three need to kind of break off and do something. And everybody thought it'd be Big E.
Because he's big.
Yeah.
And his
name's E.
Yeah, I was musing on this just before the podcast, actually. Musing on when will they split the New Day? Because the New Day are so popular, and the hype with Kofi, of course, just now is so massive that a split just now would be far more impactful. But they're also really, really popular as the New Day. You're like,
that's what they did. That's what they did with Shield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true.
So again, you run down the logic. Kofi picks up the title. One of the other two or both of the other two are jealous, causes a split, heel turn. But they could do the Seth Rollins thing because everyone thought it'd be Ambrose that turned on the Shield. It wasn't. It was Rollins.
When did they do that? Was that the night after we saw them?
No, it wasn't the night. It was a few months because they had the Evolution Shield match at whatever crappy in between pay per view they have.
Okay. But it was
post 30. Yeah, it was post 30. But then they could do the unexpected and have Kofi turn around to Big E and the other one.
Thanks very much. See you there.
Yeah, and say you guys held me back. I would have done this earlier if I wasn't fucking about with pancakes type thing. But yeah, I think Kofi Kingston. I think he might win it. But I could see a scenario where he wouldn't as well.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting. He doesn't. I can't see any. I mean, he's obviously he's a very high quality wrestler and everything like that. He can do some amazing spots and very talented and very very charismatic, well loved. But he doesn't excite me as a champion.
No, but again, if they keep the New Day together, you've got that surge of popularity behind your champion with Big E and Xavier Woods.
Yeah,
if you do a heel turn, you've got the sympathy thing. There's a long distance they can go with this, especially with maybe Luke Harper coming back, and then you could have Harper, Rowan, and Bryan against the New Day. You got 3-on-3 scenario then, and I wouldn't be surprised with that. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of mileage in the next 6 months that they can do with Kofi as a champion. I don't see the same mileage with Daniel Bryan as the champion. Because you either bring AJ Styles back into it, or you bring Randy Orton into it, or you bring one of the other New Day into it. But it just feels like lining up opponents to line up opponents rather than having an intriguing kind of story or approach.
Yeah.
So I mean, the other thing is I suppose they could have Luke Harper come down and have it 3-on-3 at Mania, although the main match is 1-on-1. Have them cost Kofi the title, and then you've got the New Day. I can see a 3-on-3 thing happening with the New Day and someone else if they keep that storyline going.
Yeah.
But as I say, for me, there's more mileage in Kofi. There's more things they can do with Kofi winning it than they can with Daniel Bryan keeping it. Daniel Bryan doesn't need a title. He is, he's like AJ Styles or Brock Lesnar or The Undertaker. They carry titles from, you watch them regardless. You cheer them.
I guess that's true. It just seems he's only had this Hemp title for 2 minutes. That's the thing. I thought this was going to be bigger, was going to be longer, but the fact that they've given him the new belt, I thought this was going to be a thing. It seems quick to take it off him.
It does, but Hemp has a short shelf life.
Yeah, it does if you burn it, I believe. So what?
Yeah, or smoke it. Yeah, I heard. Anyway,
I was hoping they would do an angle on that. Actually, I was hoping that at some point somebody gets off him and then sets fire to it, and there's wait, we can't do that.
Munchies, Stoner Brian.
Yeah.
So do you have a third question?
Kind of.
How many questions do we have? Because this is 45 minutes.
Three.
Okay, that's fine.
3, yeah. Just 3, and it's a bit of a stupid question. Just
Sorry, hold on 1 second. We spent 30 minutes on question 1. We've probably spent about 10 minutes on question 2. 30 minutes is the longest I've ever spent with a woman.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
The wording in my head was better than that to make it funnier, and I just completely flopped it at the end.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Yeah, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I had a down there with that joke about lasting 30. As I don't normally last 30 minutes on women. Damn it!
Let's not spend 45 minutes discussing a joke that misfired, though. Let's not do that.
Oh, yeah.
It seems
premature. Premature ejaculation. That beats your shitty one earlier.
I'm not sure it does.
Maybe not.
Think of the impact. Think of the heat. Think of the heat that mine will have drawn, just because it was so unexpected. And yeah, it's first of all, we're not just on the Kofi thing. Did you call the Usos when the Usos came out?
No,
I did. I totally called that.
No, I don't have the number anymore.
I was sat there watching, thinking, if they're going to bring out another tag team, it kind of has to be the Usos by this stage, because they've been getting bigger and bigger as they come out. They've done the bar. If another tag team's coming out, it's kind of got to be the Usos. And if the Usos come out, wait a minute, the Usos were backstage last week cheering Kofi. So I thought, they're going to do something here. I thought they might lie down, but I guess there's a pride element to that. So they came out and forfeit, and I was like, yes, totally called it. I was quite proud of myself. Yeah. Anyway.
No, I didn't.
The question I was going to ask was about the Triple H Batista thing. I kind of saw I kind of saw what Batista was going to ask for. It was a good segment. I really enjoyed that. Triple H at his best. But do you think that there is any chance that Triple H is coming close to retirement, and this might be how he's choosing to do it?
No. Although I think if he was to retire, he'd go out against somebody like, somebody who he obviously has a good relationship with. But no, I think unless they're really gonna again, this gives them a chance to knock Mania out of the park, because a lot of people have complained that the build-up's been poor and some of the match listings aren't that great. But there is plenty of mileage for surprises in this Mania. There really is. Yeah. If Rousey is signed on and they keep that quiet, and Becky Lynch pins Flair or something else happen, there's a lot of mileage for surprises.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't think so.
Lesnar retains.
Oh man, my balls jump back in my body when you say that. No, I think what they've done is they've called, the result was always likely to be Triple H, because Triple H has never beaten Batista in a pay-per-view match or a one-on-one match. I can't remember which, but they do have a story to Triple H is out to avenge that as well as avenge Ric Flair. Yeah. I think you can find it odd that Ric Flair's Triple H's best friend and mentor, and then on Raw he referred to him as "you beat up that old man."
Yeah,
I just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
It's a little harsh about say that about your friend.
Yeah.
But I think they've just called what this match is going to be, which is Batista probably dominating and Triple H picking up the win and breaking that duck. But again, there is a lot of mileage for a surprise, and if they do that, because I think Batista's been fairly vocal that this is his last match.
Yeah.
For him to beat Triple H and for it to be both of their last match, again, as a WrestleMania moment, that'll be up there in the kind of top 10.
Yeah.
And Triple H does like his limelight. He does a lot, but he likes his limelight. That would be, I think, the longer it goes on for Triple H, like it did with The Undertaker, the more chance it's got of being, when he finally gives up, people will go, thank God.
Yeah.
Because at this point, they thought of The Undertaker coming back in wrestling. I'm kind of like, no, stay buried.
No, I don't want to see it. Don't want to see it. But
great, but
he's
you're
coming back to Saudi Arabia.
Actually. Yeah, well, they'll give me that kind of money. I'll come back to Saudi Arabia. But yeah, so I think they've called it. I think it will be a Triple H win. But I would absolutely love to see them both riding out together in their last match, and both of them saying afterwards, "That's it, we're done." From a wrestling perspective, Triple H will obviously remain probably an on-camera character and stuff like that. But from a wrestling perspective, both of us on the night we're good buddies. We rode the last train together.
Yeah, it was just interesting to me because we obviously he's the last Saudi show he tore his pec, and that's a big deal. He must only just be cleared.
Yeah.
I mean, when he did it, first of all, the length of time they were talking about was just before WrestleMania. Is the normal healing time for someone like that?
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Where's Cena?
I can't see him.
Is that the thing? Has he been about all the time? We just haven't been able to see him.
I can't see him. Did you mean to set me up for that joke, or was that just your warning?
No,
if that was a setup, that was a good setup.
It would have been a good setup if I'd done it deliberately. Sure, let's say it was a deliberate setup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it was or whether it wasn't.
I don't think Cena's needed. I don't think Cena's needed on the card, but I wouldn't be surprised if, thinking ahead, the Vince McMahon and others at the top of WWE are known to be quite obstinate. So the Baron Corbin backlash, I can see them going, "We're going to shove this down your throat." But at the last minute, Baron Corbin is going to come out. Kurt Angle is going to pin him in 3 minutes or something. He's going to bury him. And Kurt Angle's going to be standing there going, was this it? Was this always about? John Cena's music hits, comes out with the microphone and goes, "How about I'm your last match right now? Let's do this." And they have a 10, 15-minute match, 10-minute match, 12-minute match, whatever it is. And then Cena pins Angle, and Angle rides off into the sunset as well.
I've got a slightly different framing of that. Again, I got the, but it just sounded good. Like, rather than that, the beginning of the Corbin Angle match happens. Corbin doesn't come down. Corbin's been beaten up backstage. Cena comes out, who beat up Corbin because of ruthless aggression.
Oh.
I like the sound of that. It's cheesy. It's WrestleMania. Why not?
That's got so much cheese on it that there's no room for the sauce.
No. Who needs this sauce? It's WrestleMania.
I like the sauce, my friend.
But yes, that was a thought.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a thing. And still no Undertaker there. No Undertaker.
No. I'm not disappointed. Fantastic, loved his stuff, but he's not needed.
No, he should have stopped at the Reigns match. I think everybody said that the match was poor, but the finish was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they set that up to be a wonderful goodbye without ever having to say goodbye. But hey ho, he either still wants to do it or he's spending too much money. It's one of those two things, and I think it's probably the former. I think he's, obviously the big payoff for Saudi Arabia and stuff like that's great, but I think it's.
Do you think we'll see him
in Saudi Arabia? Probably.
No. Do you think we'll see him at Mania? Do you think he'll appear in some form?
I can't. He might do, but I can't actually picture where. There's no natural. There's no natural position. Certainly don't want him to get involved in Kurt Angle's retirement because although they had matches in the past, it was never a thing. Kurt Angle, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Jericho, Kurt Angle, Benoit, Kurt Angle, Guerrero, Kurt Angle, John Cena. They were things for Kurt Angle in WWE.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle Did I say Triple H? Kurt Angle, Triple H. I think it started with that. Never mind. I'm getting old. But he had matches with the Taker, but there was never really the chemistry of the storyline.
Yeah.
So that's the only place I can see that because I think they might pull a swerve on that whole Corbin thing, but I think they'll do it at the last minute as a kind of screw.
Do you know what? Do you know what wants me? Do you know what I want to happen as the swerve that they pull with Corbin? Is I want it to go ahead exactly as advertised, and I want it to be good. That's what I would like to happen. I would like to it's like, sure, let's do it, storyline, everybody's unhappy, everything like that. Let's just actually, this time, we've not seen good Angle recently.
I don't think, but I think that's because we can't see
good Angle.
I
think that's entirely possible, yeah.
And I don't think Corbin's the style of opponent to carry that. I think that there's no emotional feel good about this match. Angle's not in his prime. He can still do better than a lot of guys, but he's not in his prime.
No.
Corbin's knock him down, drag him out type wrestler. He's not. He's not gonna. Him and not prime Angle aren't gonna click now. Prime Angle could carry anyone. Not prime Angle can. Not prime Cena and not prime Angle can carry each other quite well. Cena's not far out of his prime. He's still got a lot in the tank. They can carry themselves. I can't imagine any scenario where we're going to get the kind of match that gives any payoff to this Corbin Angle thing.
I would just
quality of match.
I just would like to see that. I mean, Angle doesn't need to win his last match.
No, but he doesn't need to lose to Corbin.
He doesn't need to lose to Corbin. No, but if he's going to lose, he should be putting somebody over. I think that for me would be how you turn this into a Mania moment. Is you have Angle lose, but you have Angle lose after a competitive match where the crowd warms to Corbin at the end of it, and Angle holds up Corbin's thing. There's the mutual respect at the end of it. Corbin's the victory. It's hard to imagine how they could do it, but it would be a nice moment.
No, you see, that wouldn't work for me at all because, I think Angle putting somebody over, if that was the case, it should be someone who has been built.
Yeah.
I think doing it with the Corbin thing would just feel completely throwaway. Everybody knows it's Angle's last match. Yeah. I say it's the emotional, it's the lack of emotional investment that anybody has in Angle Corbin. And in the run-up, they've done Angle Joe, the Angle Styles, and they're doing Angle Mysterio, and you're like, those are Mania matches.
That's a shame. Well, it's 55 minutes, so I guess that's reasonable enough time. All right. Well, let's call it there. There were more to discuss. I saw a movie this week, but we can always save these next week.
Yeah, you need to do the outro.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for he's doing this. He's pushing that button to make his broadband fun sound funny, like a robot voice, just so I did the outro. But yes, thank you for listening, however many of you have listened. And we'll be back next week around about the same time for more of the same right. See ya.